Be testing this. Okay, I'm just going to shut that down, and we are live. Hey everyone, welcome to my lifestyleshow.tv. It's awesome to have you here. For me it's evening, for my lovely host it's early morning, so welcome. I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. I want to remind you that this is a purely educational show, so we're not here to pitch anything, sell anything. Obviously Denise might tell you about what she's involved with at the moment, but it's really here to kind of give you some value and see how we can help you grow lifestyle businesses. Because my vision for the show is really just to inspire and motivate, especially women entrepreneurs, to stop working so hard, you know, to kind of make a change, fast track your success, and kind of stop trading time for money so much. So it's about creating a lifestyle business and giving yourself more time and freedom so you can enjoy the things that you love doing. It's an interactive show, so please don't hesitate to ask any questions. I unfortunately don't have my spare laptop tonight, so normally I can check them. So I'm going to be checking on my phone to try and get any comments or questions you may have. So please put them in the comment box below the video. I've got a couple that have been emailed to me, so I'll go through them with Denise. So I want to say a welcome to Denise, live from Australia. She's the founder of, obviously, Lucky Bitch, as most people know her. It's a pleasure. I got the pleasure of meeting Denise, obviously, a few weeks ago in London, which was just absolutely awesome. And the thing I loved about Denise was just her straightforward manner. You know, it was the simplicity around what everything. I guess a lot of people make it really complex when they're talking about money and they don't like to talk about it. And I just loved your simplicity of some really powerful things that people can do. You know, Denise is the author of 2 best-selling books, Lucky Bitch and Get Rich Lucky Bitch, which I love. I've just about finished it now. And Denise helps women, I guess, release money blocks, set premium prices for their services, and I guess take back control, I guess, around their finances and what they're doing. So welcome to the show. And tonight's theme is basically play the money game. No, the money game and how to play it. So welcome, Denise. It's awesome to have you here. And obviously, if you want to give a bit of background about yourself first, that would be fantastic, so people know kind of who you are and a little bit more about you. That would be awesome.
Sure. So I am Australian. I grew up in Australia, but I spent all of my 20s living in London, like a lot of Australians do. So I was there for almost a decade. And I think I have some really interesting memories of that time in London, because that was my real experimentation as an entrepreneur phase that a lot of people go through right at the beginning of their business journey, where they've kind of got a lot of enthusiasm, which I did. I had kind of some nebulous ideas, but I didn't make any money from any of my business ventures at all. And in fact, most of them were so random that it's actually really embarrassing to talk about. But I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs do go through that phase. And then what happened for me, which was a really big wake-up call, was that I set a massive intention to go traveling. And for once in my life, I threw everything at it. Like everything that I'd ever read in any personal development book, I did all of them all at the same time. And the interesting thing after doing that, about going traveling as my goal, I found out about a competition to travel the world for 6 months, all expenses paid, reviewing luxury honeymoon destinations. So it was the most random kind of thing, and I wrote my first book, Lucky Bitch, about that, because it seemed from the outside that this opportunity is dropped in my lap, but when you look behind the scenes and you saw all the things that I did, you would see it was pretty inevitable that I was going to find out about this competition and then win it. And so I decided after that to call my company Lucky Bitch because, and you'll know this as well, Kylie, from being a woman in business, whenever you have something that other people want or you work hard for something, there will always be someone who thinks it's just pure luck, you know, that it got dropped in your lap, whether it's a successful relationship or a successful business or an amazing body. People be like, oh, you're so lucky to have that. And really, I really like to teach people the behind the scenes and the hacks and really take people through a step-by-step process, because I think there is really no accident in success. I do believe that there is something out there, you know, I do talk about the law of attraction, but I think you have to meet the universe halfway. So for me, that winning that competition was such a great opportunity, but it was really a wake-up call that you absolutely can take your destiny into your own hands and work your way to it. And it's the same with what you teach. A lifestyle business does not happen by accident, but when you have a lifestyle business, you will get so many people thinking that it was just pure luck or it just happened for you.
So true. That's really powerful, and it is so true, because it's like, and I guess because I've been online, I'm doing a lot of online marketing for the last year, and you see it all the time where you see these overnight successes, as I like to say, and when you don't realise, it's like you said, a lot of them have worked really hard, damn hard, behind the scenes, and you know, and then all of a sudden they just said, oh, they're so lucky, you know, they made overnight success, and it's like, no, most people have worked at it for behind the scenes before they get success. So that's just really powerful, and yeah, really, really awesome in relation to kind of what you did and how you changed it, and what a, you know, lucky bitch getting to travel the world and look at holiday destinations.
I think it's really important to talk about those practicalities and the work that goes behind it, because that means you can replicate somebody else's success. You know, you can't replicate necessarily a lucky break, right? But if you find out how somebody did it and the steps that they actually took in the real world to create their success, then you can replicate it for yourself.
Yeah, it's really powerful. You know, I love Tony Robbins. One of Tony Robbins' one of my favourite quotes is, you know, like, don't reinvent the wheel. Find someone that's successful, model it, make it better. And you know, that's how Richard Branson got his success, isn't it? You know, he didn't take an airline suddenly and create an airline. He took an airline and changed it, made it better, and improved on it. And so many people, I think, go out there thinking they have to change the world with something new, or I think a lot of women entrepreneurs stop putting stuff out there because they're worried that, oh, someone's already done it as well. And I think that's really powerful as well. You know, so they don't literally launch their stuff. And
I've got something to say about that. I'm really passionate about it, because the same thing happened to me when I started doing coaching. I was just like, oh, there's so many coaches out there. And when I started to talk about money, it's like, well, there are so many people. And I think sometimes you have to take the pressure off yourself. You don't have to be the expert. You can just be part of the conversation. And I'm totally fine to be part of the conversation around women and money. I don't put myself on a pedestal thinking I have to be the expert. Once you do that, pressure is off, and then you just realize, oh, I can just do it in the way that I want to do it, because you'll find that there are so many people who need to hear it from you. You know, if they might not relate to other people talking about that exact same topic, they will need to hear it from you, or they might never hear it at all, and that would be a tragedy.
Yeah, I agree with that, because it's you know, I used to say, one of my mentors said to me, she goes, Kylie, because I was a bit like that, I guess, coming from the corporate world, I don't know, I'm used to being ahead of the game, especially from a sales environment. I was always top at what I was doing. So, of course, starting my own stuff, I hesitated a lot of doing things, and I was like, I can't put that out, it's not perfect, it's not whatever. But I think the key thing, what she said to me was, you only ever have to be one step ahead of the person behind you. And it's like, you are then the expert, because what they don't know, you know, and that's all that matters. It's like you said, you don't have to be this top of the level expert, I guess, in that rate. You know, you just have to know that you've got something to teach and a voice that you want to share it with.
Yes, yeah. And teach what you know, because then you will always feel authentic. You'll never feel like a fraud. And I think there's a real value in teaching those beginner steps, because sometimes, you know, when you've moved on and you've created a lot of success in your business, you forget what it's like right at the beginning, and people really need that information to get going. So just teach what you know. If you've never had a six-figure business, don't teach people how to create a six-figure business. I think when people do that, it creates a real incongruence, and then, you know, they feel like they're going to get caught out. But if you teach people how to get your first 3 clients, because you know how to do that, and you know that you have done it, well, there's so much value in teaching something like that.
Yeah, and that's really interesting at the moment, because I've been working, obviously, on launching my show, and there's a few things I've been challenging myself with recently, and I created a product around blogging, because that's kind of how I got started last year, but I was never really, I guess, my heart wasn't behind it. I was doing it, but my heart wasn't really behind what I was doing at the time, whereas literally in the last 3 days, I've created a branding product about launching my show. And the difference, like, immediately, because I know I've done it, it looks awesome, I've had some fantastic feedback already, you know, immediately I've had just amazing response to launching it. And it's because, like you said, it comes from a heartfelt place where I know it, I'm comfortable, I've done it, it's fantastic, and I'm loving it. Whereas I was kind of doing the other thing but wasn't really feeling like it was me. Yeah, really powerful.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can't attract the people that you want to attract into your business. You can't have those clients and make that money if you're constantly feeling like you're a fraud or you're just doing it for the money. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, you're doing for the money is not. Yeah, that's a big shift in a lot of people, I think. Is if you, and it's a shame because a lot of entrepreneurs start out doing it obviously for money because they need to make money. They may have left work or whatever, but when you start to do it like you said, do it to serve. I picked up all your headlines. Yeah.
And it's okay. And this is a great chance to tell you about a mantra that I use, which you probably know, Kylie. You've heard me say before. Is I serve, I deserve. Yeah. Because a lot of us get caught up in, I have to help people, I'm not in this to make money, I just want to help people, I don't care about the money. And see how there's just such mixed messages there. Whereas if we say, I serve and I deserve, it's okay to do both. It's just when you do things just because you think it's a good way to make money and you're missing that other piece, it's just never going to sustain you enough. I mean, you could do it for a couple of months, but you'd probably get bored of it, and you're really not going to attract people because people can sense that you're not, you know, you don't have a huge passion for it. And I've done it myself. There are things that I've done in my business where I did it just because I thought it'd be a great way to make money. And even now, when people contact me and say, "Can you do this? Can you do this?" There's sometimes I'm tempted, right? And I'm like, "Oh, that would be really great money." And I just think I couldn't sustain the interest in it. And I've actually even said to someone recently, I said, "I will gladly take your money. You give it to me, I will spend it. But it's not my zone of genius, so I would not be serving you. I think there'd be someone else that'd be better for you." And there's real power sometimes in saying no to things.
Yeah, that's really important. And I think, and also just keeping focused on success as well, and kind of your audience, you know, it's all about your target audience and helping them. And, you know, if, like you said, you're off doing something different, they're going to get confused as well because they're going to be like, well, how does that fit in? Where does that fit with what, you know, we've been doing over here? So, yeah, the power of saying no. Like, I know one of my mentors that's helping me with this live show, she turned down a speaking gig. I couldn't believe it. It was like in front of about 500 people or whatever. And I was like, oh, my God, you turned down a speaking gig. She goes, it wasn't for my audience. It wasn't going to serve in any way, shape or form my business. And the power of that, you know, she's so empowered because she said no. Because it's like you said, she wasn't the right fit for that speaking gig. She didn't feel like she was the right fit. Yeah, exactly.
And that's really a key of having a lifestyle business, because you can do a lot of things, and a lot of people who go into business are jack of all trades. We are talented in lots of areas. We could figure it out, right? We could do it. But the real lifestyle part of it, the real lifestyle design, is about working in your zone of genius and delegating or outsourcing or saying no to the other things. And that can be hard for entrepreneurs because some of us, I'm talking about myself here, when I had to start doing it, I had a real ego about being the go-to girl for everything. I had a real ego about the fact that if someone contacted me, one of my friends, and they'd say, "Where's the best place to stay in New York?" And instead of saying, "Google it," I'm not a travel person, I would go and Google it for them because I prided myself on finding information very quickly. And the first time I had to say, "I'm sorry, I don't know," it was like a knife in my heart. And I just went, "I'm sorry, babe, I don't know."
So if you're kind of starting out in that situation a bit, how did you figure out, because if you kind of, you know, like you said, quite a lot of us do different things and things like that, how did you figure out what your one thing was? Like, what was it that led you to doing what you're doing?
I think it takes time and experimentation. So I always tell people, yes, I've been in my business for 5 years. I've been doing this kind of business for 5 years. But as you said before, overnight success is not really the case. So, you know, through my 20s, I would start random businesses. I was like, I'll be a dating coach. This will be amazing. And then I was going to be a dating coach. And then I was going to be a movie reviewer. And then I was blogging about health and wellness and detoxes and enemas, and then I was blogging about weddings. And so all of those things were experimentations, but here's what they taught me: blogging, consistency, marketing, social media. And so I guess the skills I was learning were really useful, but the topic had to get refined, and because I realized going to the movies is a pleasure for me. I don't want to sit there with a notebook and take notes to write a review. That ruined movies for me. So I was like, oh, well, that doesn't work. So I think when something doesn't work, it's okay to experiment. It's okay to not know. But I think it's better just to try stuff than just to sit at home and stress and wonder about how you're going to create a lifestyle business, because it has to come from movement. It has to come from you trying things. Even doing that competition, when we won the competition, it was for honeymoons, but it taught me blogging. It taught me how to make videos. It taught me how to talk to the media. It gave me a really good sense of daily deadlines for my business. Do I want to talk about honeymoons and weddings? No. Do I want to be a hotel reviewer? No. So for someone who's just getting started, I would say start a blog and just start writing about what you're passionate about. Because even when I started my business under my own name, Denise Duffield-Thomas, which was at .com at that time, not luckybitch.com, I was like, I'm going to write about manifesting. So I wrote about how to manifest a partner, how to manifest weight loss, how to manifest this and that. I wrote about everything. And then slowly I started refining, because I was like, oh, no one liked that one. Or you know what, I'm not an expert in that. Or I actually can't be bothered talking about soulmates. It's not my thing. And slowly you refine and refine and refine. But you can't do that in a vacuum. I think you have to do that in action.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm a bit the same. I kind of started last year doing network marketing, and it's like you said, it's taught me the skills, but it's not kind of where I wanted to go. It wasn't really me. But like you said, the journey's been awesome, and I've met some amazing people. I've traveled a lot, and I've learnt skills now that I can use for anything. And like you said, all the blogging and things like that. And I encourage definitely a lot of people to start a blog, because I started part-time while I was working full-time as well. I don't know whether you did that or not.
I did that.
But blogging is the easiest thing. Yeah, it's the easiest way to start a platform, isn't it? Just to kind of start to get that momentum going, even if, like you said, you don't know where you want to go. I mean, I've only really come into myself this year, because last year I was doing network marketing, I was loving it, I've made income from it, and I've gone, this is fantastic, but now I want to find me and enjoy what I really, like you said, love doing. And it's taken that journey to do that. So, yeah, that's absolutely, totally 100% agree with you there.
And wouldn't you agree too, there's a really massive learning curve when you start an online business? And so even any of those practice businesses, even if they weren't the right business, just learning how to create a blog, learning how to do online stuff, there's a massive learning curve. So that's why you want to start early, even if you don't know what your idea is, just so you can learn all that stuff. You can do your first webinar and have tech problems and be okay about it. And you can learn how to create a Facebook page and learn how to work with WordPress or whatever site you have. It takes time to do that.
Yeah, it does. And it's like you said, there's nothing worse too when you put yourself under pressure for earning money when you don't know what you want to do, because that's when, like you said before, you start doing stuff because you feel like you have to make money rather than because it's the right thing to do potentially for your audience and serving and things like that. And the other thing is, no, I've just lost what I was thinking then. I wrote build. I was going to ask you something then. Yes.
I'll go back to the part-time point, because I think that's a really great way to start, is to, so here's the transition I made. I was working full-time in a consulting firm, working really long hours, no time and creativity to work for myself. And so my first transition out of that was I went to a charity where it was 9 to 5. It was a very supportive environment. It was just around the corner from my house. So suddenly I bought an extra time. Yes, my salary went down a little bit, but I bought some freedom back for myself. And I started just kind of blogging on evenings and weekends. So I did that for a while. And then I went to 3 days a week at a different charity. So suddenly I bought back, again, a little bit less money, but I bought back 2 days worth of freedom. Whereas what I'd done earlier in my 20s was I just went straight from full-time work with no business idea, quit my job, and thought, if I have the pressure to earn money, I will figure out an idea. And for me, that did not work. It created panic in me. it was too much pressure, whereas I thought the pressure would be good, right? I thought this will be like being at university when I have an assignment deadline and I pull an all-nighter and I just make it happen. It doesn't work like that with business. I think creativity needs time and space, but it also needs for you to feel safe that you're not going to starve.
It is, and I think, you know, it's like you said, it's a nice way to transition as well, because a lot of people, I guess, put off that change as well. You know, we're here to inspire change as well, and it's a lot, you know, I talk to so many women, they go, I really wish I wasn't doing this anymore, you know, I really want to spend more time with my family, or, you know, I'd love to really go on that trip I wanted to do, but they're so scared of losing that security of every month having that salary coming in. And like you said, if you can transition somehow, like for me, I built a part-time income up while I was working full-time, so at least I knew my basics were covered, you know, and it's the same. So dropping down is just the other way to do it, exactly the same. So yeah, you can transition without that big, oh my god, I have to launch my business. Or obviously the other way is make sure you save enough, you know, you could do that as well, have at least 6 months kind of leeway behind you. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Time, creativity, I mean, I've done so much more being off work now, but I'm comfortable because I know at least my bases are covered. Whereas
Exactly.
I would never have done it before.
And it was what we were saying before. Once you've had your first client, you know you can replicate that. But a lot of us, we try and quit before we've even done that and we've even earned our first dollar. But as soon as you do, and that's the thing, working part-time for me, I was like, wow, somebody paid me. And this was, I wasn't doing what I'm doing now. That's when I was doing my wedding/raw food business. But somebody paid me for that ebook, and somebody paid me to coach them, and I was just like, this is amazing. I can do this. And that's what gave me the confidence when my contract was up for that job to go, you know what? I'm okay to work my own business now. But that was a transition for me of about a year and a half, 2 years. And that's not a sexy thing to hear, right? Because you just want to hear, oh, it just happened overnight. And it didn't for me. That was a 2-year transition from full-time, very busy work to going out and working for myself. And then, you know, that first month working for myself, I made $225. But I was in that space and I was okay. I'd cut back expenses. I'd, you know, spoken to my husband. We were ready to make that leap together. But it wasn't like it was all just magically happening for me.
No, and I think that's what I like as well. It's like you said, there's too many. I guess I see a lot of this being on the online network marketing world last year. Is there's too many of this kind of, you know, you can do it success. You can, especially with laptops. You know, you hear about the laptop lifestyle all the time. Now, laptop lifestyle is awesome, but like you said, it takes time to create that, and it's about, I guess, it's like you said, it's that transition without the fear factor behind it, definitely, 100%. And, you know, allowing yourself that space to create. And, you know, it was like me when I first made money online. I was like, oh, I've made, you know, yeah, I think it was about $20 or something was my first one. I was like, oh, now I can do that. Maybe I can make another 20. And it's like you said, it gives you that belief as you go. Whereas the beginning, it took me about 6 months to kind of get my head around it and relearn, and because they're going, I had no life. What was I doing? But the rewards later, definitely worth it. And that's the thing, most people don't take that step. So I guess in a way, like, if you're facing the fear of doing that, how would you deal with that?
The fear is really real. I think that's the thing for people to understand. It's real for everybody. And just because you're scared doesn't mean that you're not meant to be successful. And just because you're scared, it doesn't mean you're the only one and there's something wrong with you. Because I've spoken to really successful entrepreneurs at all stages of business, and the fear never really goes away entirely. I mean, I wouldn't say that I get up every day and I'm terrified to do the things that 5 years ago would have terrified me. But I think you only get the problems that you can deal with at any particular time. And I think it's important to not be scared of problems that aren't even problems yet for you. And right at the beginning of people's entrepreneurial journey, often they're quite scared of things like getting haters, for example, or getting negative comments. And the truth is, when you're very starting out and you're blogging, nobody is watching. Like, nobody is watching. It takes time to build an audience. It takes time to build out your first hater. And by the time you get your first hater, it's going to be so much easier to deal with because you know that you're out there in the trenches doing the work. You don't put out your first blog post and get it. You'd be very unlucky to get a hate email on your very first blog post because your mum's watching, and unless your mum's going to be your first hater.
It's so true, though. And you would hope your friends would neither, you know?
Exactly. So don't be afraid of things that just aren't problems yet. But know that fear is totally normal. It's totally something that everyone has to deal with in business. And I call it the business of being a business. It is kind of a bit scary some days, but it's not going to be, I think your dream for what your lifestyle business is going to give you has to be bigger than your fear. And it doesn't have to be a lot bigger. Some days it just has to be a tiny, tiny little bit bigger. And so for me, when I was commuting to work, that was painful. I understand. And so anyone who's listening, you know, I lived in Canning Town in East London. You know, I had to walk through kind of my dodgy neighbourhood to the bus stop, and then, you know, the bus to the train, and then change trains, and then walk on the other side to my job. And the thing is, I never had a really good winter coat when I lived in London. I had this big brown hairy coat, and I would sit on the train and I would just think, every part of me does not want to be doing this, but it's only temporary. And every day or every hour that I spend working on my blog, coming up with creative ideas, working on my book ideas, that is going to buy my freedom. And I had to remind myself, and I'd say, this is temporary, this is temporary. And I remember one afternoon, it wouldn't have even been that late at night because I worked for a charity. We finished at like 5 o'clock. But I was standing on the train station, and it was covered in snow, and I was freezing, and it was dark. And I was walking up and down the platform, and I was rehearsing the speech that I would give to people when I was a full-time entrepreneur. And I was rehearsing it out loud. And at that time, I had no list, I had no website, but I was rehearsing this speech that I would give people and telling them about the competition I won, because at that time I had just applied for it. I was kind of in those stages, and rehearsing things like this. And then when I moved to Australia after London, and I would be driving back and forth, I used to drive an hour to meet with one of my clients, one of my very first clients, who didn't pay me very much money, but I was willing to do it. And every day on that commute, it was an hour and 15 minutes, I would rehearse the speeches I would make when people would say to me, Denise, how did you create a multi-six-figure business? And I would say, well, Kylie, this is how I did it. And I would say it out loud. So because I knew that situation was only temporary. So that's how you deal with the fear. That's how you deal with it.
That's just so powerful. Sorry, you've got me there. It's true, yeah. I guess in a way it's a bit like they always say, try and live it before you're there, don't they? I guess, you know, we call it fake it till you make it. I hate that saying, but it is kind of, if you're continually telling your mindset that you're there already and that you're feeling it, you're living it, you're loving it. I guess that's the law of attraction behind working at its best. But I love that. I bet they thought you're mad at the platform though, going, oh, look at that, sorry, strange girl talking to herself.
Well, you know what it's like in London. Nobody pays anyone else attention. Everyone's in their own little world, and I was just tramping up and down, living my future before it even happened.
Yeah, that's just absolutely awesome. So we're talking about, one of the questions we were talking about was sabotage. In relation to how can you kind of, I guess, in a way, stop some of that inner talk that sabotages you in relation to, you know, whether it's money blocks. Because I know, like you said, money blocks you can get at any level, you know, whether you're trying to get from 3 grand to 20 grand or 20 grand to 60 grand. Everyone's got their money blocks as they go along. So how do you kind of stop that inner sort of sabotage, kind of talking to yourself in a way, your little devil on your shoulder? Is there a way that you kind of work on that?
Yeah, you are so right, because we think that money solves problems. Money doesn't solve anything. Money is just a tool. Money is neutral. So we're making up stories about money, and we're making up stories about that. So the thing is with sabotage patterns, everyone has their own one or two that they really go to again and again. So it's really about finding those patterns. And often it's about when things are going good, things are going well, and then suddenly they go a little bit too well, and you start to think, well, this can't last, or I'm really happy about it, but it feels like a sour feeling in my stomach. And so everyone has got their own sabotage patterns, and I'll just say a couple. One is picking fights with your partner or your husband. One is overeating, overindulging, maybe over-shopping, whatever. It could be procrastination is a huge one. So
that'd be mine.
yeah, that's kind of one of mine as well. Just unhealthy behaviours. So it could be stay up all night watching TV to numb yourself. In extreme cases, it can be drugs and alcohol and things like that. But everyone's really got their own sabotage pattern. Getting sick is a big one, and I never remember that one because I don't have that one, but I know that's a very common one. That, you know, maybe someone's got a big speaking gig or a big interview coming up and they lose their voice. That comes up a lot. So it's really about finding your patterns, and the way you do it is you have to just be self-aware and just look at what situations have come up in your life where things have happened that have been really great, and then suddenly it's all gone to shit, if I can say that. And look at what's common about that. Like, what did you do? You know, and I've got a friend who used to just get sick all the time, and she'd you know, write her book, and it'd be like, great, why don't you put the first chapter online, or why don't you send a proposal out? And she's like, I can't, I've got bronchitis. And it's like, holy crap, you get bronchitis every month like clockwork as soon as you're close to achieving your dream. And for her, she wanted to quit her job, but she kept on sabotaging the very thing that would help her quit her job. So that's the behavior part of it, and you have to look at the underlying stuff of it. What are you afraid of? And I was talking about money the other day, and I said something about people are afraid that when they have money that X, Y, Z will happen. And this lady was like, I would love to have more money. And it's like, you know what, that's not helpful for yourself. You want to actually go there, like go behind the, yes, of course I want what that is. Of course I want to work for myself. Of course I want it to have an amazing body. Of course I want to have more money. You have to look back and say, what if I didn't? And what would be the reasons why I don't want those things? So if you dig deeper, yes, it's a bit painful. Yes, the personal development industry says we have to be positive all the time. That doesn't work. Go one level deeper, because you are protecting yourself. You're not sabotaging because you're a bad person. You're not sabotaging because the universe doesn't want you to be successful. You are sabotaging because you are protecting yourself from something. And that isn't a true something. That is a story that you have created, or an underlying belief that you have, that if you get that thing, if you get more money, something bad is going to happen. And again, we've all got our own particular blend of sabotage. We don't have all of them. Usually we have one or two. As you said, me and you, we've got procrastination, right?
Definitely.
Go down below, your fear, you only have one or two fears. So it could be you have a fear that your husband might leave you if you're too successful. You have a fear that you will be a public target and people will ridicule you, or they'll say bad things about you. Or that you'll be so rich that everyone will ask you for money all the time, or you'll be so rich that you'll be kidnapped and your children won't be successful, or you'll be so rich that your kids will turn into greedy little shits. There's so many little flavors, and I think everyone's got kind of one or two, but basically it's not safe for you to make money, and that's why you're sabotaging. And all this work is just about self-awareness. It's just about finding out what those stories are and knowing that they'll never necessarily go away. But when you know that information, it's very powerful, and you can stop that sabotage in its tracks, because you can go, wow, I'm spending a lot of time on Candy Crush this week. I wonder what I'm avoiding.
Yeah. I did that the other day. I was avoiding something and I was just like, yeah, I know what I'm doing now. But it's like you said, once you're aware of it, isn't it? It's being aware of the patterns. It's like you said, if you can start to see them happening and experience it, then you can go, that's why I'm doing that. You know, what is it that I'm actually wanting to do that I'm not doing? Yeah. Totally.
I think it's really important to have a really good mastermind of women around you as well, a really good community, because then you can tell them, and it keeps you accountable when you say, guys, you know, I'm doing this thing again, you know, I'm sabotaging myself again, and it keeps you accountable. You can get out of it much quicker. My very first, like I remember one of my very first launches that went really, really well, I played Candy Crush for about 3 weeks after it. Because it was just, I did. It triggered me so much. And then, you know what, now, like, it might take me 5 minutes to get out of it, because I go, oh my God, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can switch into it a lot quicker, can't you? Because you know you're doing it. Yeah,
it takes practice. Yeah. That's why it's a daily habit. It's not, you don't wake up in the morning and go, I'm a terrible person because I've got bad breath. You go, I have to just wake up and brush my teeth. It's just my daily hygiene habit. And I feel it's the same with working on your mindset, not even just money mindset, but mindset in general. That's the game. You get up and you work on your mindset. You work on your fears. You work with your sabotages. You overcome that fear every day because the reward is so much greater. And that's why you do that daily hygiene of working on yourself, because you need it. We all need it.
And I guess one thing for me, what happens if you notice, like with a pattern, for example, that you've associated it with something else? How do you deal with that then? Like if you've maybe associated, but I guess like you said, maybe if you've associated with something bad happening, or you know, like you said, with money, if you're worried about someone leaving you or losing your friend. A lot of people are worried about leaving their friends behind. How do you, I guess, disassociate that? Because it's obviously an association you've built up in your mind that if you get there, that's going to happen. So what would you kind of say to that? Someone asked me something about that yesterday. So
yeah, that's a great question. I think the first thing to do is to recognize that it's just a story. It might not necessarily be true, because we do make up a lot of stories about money. And the second thing is that maybe some of it is true, and maybe you have lost friends in the past because of that happening. And I really think that forgiveness work is a very powerful tool around working on your money mindset, because then you remember that past behavior doesn't necessarily predict future behavior. I think that's a Tony Robbins quote or something. It's like past behavior doesn't predict future outcomes or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have to forgive that stuff and let it go. Like, let it go if that has happened to you. The other practice that I do now is that I feel like I've really created this thing where I'm very, very steady in myself, and that has come from doing emotional freedom technique work, because the basis of EFT is I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And it's the same work that Louise Hay talks about in her book, You Can Heal Your Life, is that when you realize that deep down at your core level, you deeply and completely love and accept yourself, that when things happen, you don't get blown around by other people's emotions. You actually stay very steady, and you realize that if friends do leave you because you have more money, that doesn't change who you are. That's an external thing, and that's okay. That could be their choice, but you deeply and completely love and accept yourself anyway. And I can tell you from personal experience, I have lost friends because of money. And it was painful, but it was also one of those things that I realized that that's her stuff. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Not every day, not perfectly, not all the time. That's what I aim. That's what I aim for. And
we're still women. We have days.
Isn't the goal. Absolutely, perfection isn't the goal. So I think that, you know, acknowledge that your fears are just stories, forgive past behavior, and then realize that whatever happens, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like when you face it, and it's like you said, most of the time, I used to deal with this with a lot with selling, you know, it's like that build-up, you know, especially if you had to tell someone bad news or something was happened, it was actually the fear in your head that had created it more so than actually doing the thing in the first place. Because actually by the time you did it and get it over with, it's like done and you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And it's the build-up of the fear quite often, isn't it? It's they get, I guess, carried away in your own head going, oh, this is going to be really bad. Or it's like speaking on stage. You know, what's the worst thing that can possibly happen? Okay, you might embarrass yourself, something might happen. It's like, but actually when you get there and you get doing things like that, it's like you said, what is really the worst thing that can possibly happen? I was talking to one of your girls actually at your event, and one of the girls I had lunch with, and she was like, oh, I'm really shy, I don't really like networking. And we ended up getting chatting, we got to know each other really well, and I've actually been invited to Europe to go and to hang out and stay with her. But it was really interesting because I said to her, well, look, you're surrounded by an awesome group of women. Like, you know, Denise has got a lovely tribe, they're really fantastic, everyone's here to support each other. I said, what's the best environment you could approach someone strange? You know, you're not just approaching someone on a street that doesn't want to talk to you. You're approaching someone in an environment where people want to chat. They want to get to know people. You know, they're in a supportive environment. And so I challenged her after lunch to go and chat to 3 people. And I said, what's the worst thing that can happen? I said, what is the worst? They might ignore you. I doubt it, you know. And she did. By the time she finished lunch, she talked to 3 people, made absolutely awesome connections. And she came up to me later and she said, I've never, ever done that in years. And
Wow.
it was the fear factor. It was like, and I said, what's the worst thing? Someone's going to yell at you? It's not going to happen. And especially in a supportive environment, you know.
Exactly.
Like if you can start in a supportive environment with something like that, then yeah. I love your idea, your power of your mastermind as well. Like having a support group around you, that's so powerful. If you a tip to anyone, how would you kind of, I guess, how do you get that group together? If you're just getting started or you don't know, how did your initial first, I guess, support group come together?
Do you know, it's so funny, my first mastermind came from my job because I had 2 other colleagues who wanted to do something different as well. We were all working in consulting. We worked for a great company, but all of us really had the desire to work for ourselves. So we decided to create our own mastermind where we'd meet weekly. We decided to do it for 9 months as a starting point. And we each had a really big goal that we would keep each other accountable to. And so that was a big commitment to meet weekly. And we pretty much, you know, the only time anyone missed anything is if they were traveling. And we had a specific goal. So mine was to write a book. James was to get involved in the Green Party and to run a marathon. And Lee was she wanted to start working for, she wanted to do something with the White House Project. She wanted to do something around women and feminism. And it's so interesting now is I've written two books since then.
Yeah, I was going to say.
James has just been elected as an MP for the Green Party in New Zealand.
Oh my God.
And Lee just is this incredible woman who creates women's groups and she writes for publications. But years ago when we were doing it, we were all just working in this company. So I really think it is the power of a mastermind and bringing people together and people seeing you in that way and supporting you with that goal. So that's how my first one started. You know, we just kind of approached each other about it. But then other ones, I've joined groups. You know, I've paid to be in people's groups. I've created my own. I've reached out to people and asked them to mastermind with me. And I've got 2 at the moment. So one is my own Lucky Bitch Money Bootcamp, which has a community as part of it. And that's a really beautiful place for people to keep in that conversation around money. You know, it's very kind of tightly moderated in a way. You know, people aren't allowed to promote in there and things like that. They're really only allowed to talk about money and their mindsets and their ahas and their challenges around money. That's a beautiful space. And then I have a personal mastermind that I'm involved in with about 13 other women, all business women, all multi-6-figure women. And that's very casual, kind of, it's a Facebook group, but we do speak on Skype and we do have meetups. So I think it's you know, a combination of join them and ask people, and it's trial and error, like anything. You know, it's trial and error. It takes a while to sometimes get the right fit, but I think it's important that you're constantly in the right group. Sometimes you can outgrow groups. If you find yourself mentoring everyone else in a group or being the most successful in a group, your role has changed, except the fact that you're in a mentor relationship rather than a mastermind relationship, and maybe you've outgrown it.
Yeah, that's it's one of the most powerful things, because you know, a mastermind should stretch you slightly, shouldn't it? It's getting around people, that you kind of want to become or want to be, rather than necessarily what the level you're at, because otherwise you're just going to stay at the same level. And I don't know what I was reading just before, but I was just reading that exact same thing, because they said about you know, because if you're in the same mastermind group at the same level, the worst thing you can be doing is either, and especially income level, because if you're at that same income level, you're probably giving each other very similar advice, or worst case, you're giving yourself bad advice and each other bad advice because you don't know how to get to the next level, because otherwise you would be. So, you know, it can be, negative. It can be a negative mastermind, because you can be sharing stuff. It's like they say, don't take advice from, if you want to hit 6 figures, don't take advice from a broke person. You know, otherwise you're never going to hit 6 figures. Yeah, absolutely powerful. Well, we're nearly coming up to the end. I was trying to get online. I was just trying to check the question box, but for some reason I'm trying to view and the question box has dropped off, so I'm not sure what's going on there. It was
No
playing around
problem.
before, so I've lost the
Well,
question box.
hopefully we've covered most of what people would ask anyway.
I think so, and I think, you know, I mean, the key of this, we talked about the sabotage, so we talked about the kind of the three key things that we set out to do. I guess one for me is, because obviously it's all about lifestyle businesses, so I guess can you share just kind of one thing that you love about your lifestyle business right now, and one thing maybe you see adding to it in the next 3 or 4 years? Something that you aspire to.
Great question. So the thing that I love really about my lifestyle business at the moment is that I've really batched a lot of my work and I really work in my zone of genius. So I have a baby now and I'm just really glad that I'm not stressing myself out around doing work. So I create a piece of content every single week for my tribe, and I used to literally create it on the day that it was about to go out. And now I really love the fact that I batch my video content. So I only do that every couple of months where I sit down and so last week I made 12 videos. We already have about 6 ahead already. So we're done with video content now till July. So I love that about my business because it means that every week I don't have to do that. The other thing that I love about my business is that you know, the work that I do in my business is I make videos, I do interviews like this, and that's pretty much it. I don't answer emails anymore. I have my assistant screen all my emails, so I get maybe less than 5 emails a day. And I just work on the things that I really like to do, and that's taken a couple of years to do because even, you know, kind of last year I was still trying to do everything, and you know, you can't have a lifestyle business if you're trying to do everything, because I was terrible at doing my newsletter, by the way. I was terrible at editing my own videos.
And considering you're a good blogger, that's interesting.
Yeah, but for some reason I really thought that I was the only person who could do those things. And when I realized that you can just work on the stuff that you're good at and don't worry about the other stuff. You know, you either outsource it or say no. There's so much power in that, and I think that's really the way to create a lifestyle business.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a massive shift for me outsourcing this year. Like, you know, I was definitely and because I'm quite knowledgeable on, like you said, lots of stuff.
Yep.
And I'm quite techie as well. I can do the techie stuff if I have to, you know, no problems at all, and because I pick up stuff quite quickly. But oh my God, the freedom! It's like you said, having a techie guy behind the scenes, and I finally got a proper graphics guy. Like, having a graphics guy, he kicks me now and says, "Hang on, I haven't seen this week. What are you doing?" And it's like, it's awesome to know that he's on track, going, "You haven't put this out this week." So it is little stuff, and I think that one of the things when people get started is they outsource too late. You know, they outsource when they're either overstressed or, like you said, it's really making an impact on their business. And actually, you should try and start to think about at least outsourcing or looking at stuff, like you said, that you love doing, you get in your zone, because you're not going to have the energy. And people will notice that if you're doing stuff like bookkeeping and you hate it, I can guarantee your energy is not flowing for the stuff that you should be doing and loving. Do you find? Yeah. Yeah, because energy flow is massive.
That I outsourced in my business well, it wasn't in my business, in my life, was cleaning my house, because that took up so much energy that really I needed to work on my business. The second thing I outsourced was bookkeeping, which is interesting that you said that, because a lot of entrepreneurs are like, well, I have to do it, I should do it, or I can do it, so I should do it. And then it took me a while to even outsource, you know, with having an assistant, because like anything, it's a skill, and you want to start early, even if it's just a couple of hours a month, because that's a new skill set to learn. And then as you get better and better, you can outsource more and more. As you make more money, you can outsource more and more. But don't wait until you're making heaps and heaps of money before you think you can outsource, because you can't get there. It's a chicken and egg scenario.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah, totally. So what's one thing you aspire to then? What's your aspiration? So what's something phenomenal you're going to do in the next 3 or 4 years in your business? What do we expect to see from you?
Well, okay, here's the thing. It's not sexy at all, because I heard Ryan Dice speak at a conference once, and he mapped out his entire business. And this guy makes, what, $10 million a year? Mm-hmm. And I remember he mapped it out, and I was like, all right, where's the advanced stuff? And he was like, no, this is it. You just repeat this again and again. And I was like, no, where's the silver bullet stuff? And he's like, this is it. And so it's kind of unsexy, but I think I like just to do, now that I've got this real great consistency in my business, I want to see how far I can really stretch this design stuff, lifestyle design stuff, right? I want to see how much more stuff I can automate and outsource, not because there's an extra layer of complexity to business, but it's actually doing the same things over and over again, but better. So I know that's so unsexy, but I'd love to write another book, and that does take some time and creativity. So, you know, I just want to keep on pushing myself to really automate this business and make it more and more profitable and help more and more people.
Awesome. That's so very powerful. Thank you very much. So I'm going to call it a night. You're going to let you get on with your lovely day. I hope you've got some nice stuff planned for today. Enjoy your little one. And I'm sure we'll be chatting again soon. And if you haven't checked out Denise's stuff, please do. You know, I haven't got a specific link for you this time, but I know obviously the boot camp, I mean, I've been involved with that group, and it's the most supportive group. If you can get involved in any of Denise's programs, you will go to another level, definitely, 100%. No way, no to worry about it.
Plug to my book, if that's
please do.
right.
Yeah, please do. Share how involved in at the moment.
Yeah, I'm really proud of this book. It's Get Rich Like a Bitch. It's available on Amazon in the UK as well as the US and a lot of other Amazon countries. You can get it in paperback or Kindle. Oh, you've got yours as well, yay!
Of course. And signed.
Oh, yes, of course. But if you want the first couple of chapters for free, I do have a link for you guys, and it's luckybitch.com/chapter. And then you can see if you like it, and then if you do like it, then you can go and grab it on Amazon.
And I can obviously vouch for that because it's absolutely awesome. You've got me doing stuff I wasn't even doing. So, because it's really practical, there's stuff in there. It's like you said, you know, I love reading stuff where I go, I can implement it. And I think that's the power of it, and that's, I guess, what was attracted to me when I met you in London, is that you give immediate stuff you can implement in your business to help your business. And, you know, sometimes you read stuff, you think, oh, well, I've read that, but I don't know how to apply it, whereas your stuff you can apply straight away. So it's absolutely awesome. And don't buy one, buy two, because that's what I did, and I gave it away to someone, and they just loving it, absolutely loving it. So, yeah, I've got fantastic feedback from them as well. So buy lots.
That's so Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, and have an awesome sunny day, hopefully, in Australia. And
I'll sunny.
And sorry, guys, if we've missed any specific questions, but we hope we've covered everything for you. And, yeah, if you didn't get a chance to see this, I'll send the replay out. And thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.